Good evening. Today we're going to talk about a very sad incident that happened in Tamil Nadu, Tiruppur, on June 28th. It's almost a month. A married woman named Rithanya committed suicide by consuming a pesticide, which was used for controlling all the insects in coconut tree and plantations. Just coming to the specifics of this case, Rithanya, aged 27, well educated from a family into business in Tirupur, married a guy called Kavan Kumar, age 28, just 1 year of difference. Their marriage was on April 11th, 2025, and she committed suicide about 78 days after marriage on 28th of July. Sorry, 28th of June, right? The marriage was conducted in a very glorious, pompous fashion. A lot of money spent, about 2.5 CR, very grand occasion. A car, Volvo car worth 70 lakhs was also given, and about 300 grams of gold. I think it's worth around 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs at current market rates was also given. So the parents of Rithanya never didn't hold much in terms of conducting the marriage in a very grand way, which is the norm in those bills and from business families, right? Let's see. Now, a few things about the case that I read, but then we'll go into some specific angles of what could have been done and what are some things that people should guard against if you're a parent and if you either have a girl who's for marriage or you have a boy and you're trying to find a good girl, either which way. We'll at least look at it from some aspects of the marriage dynamics and what are some red flags that you need to watch out for. So in this marriage, roughly within about 2 weeks, the girl has come home citing differences, and she was pacified and asked to go back, kind of adjust. This thing happens in marriages, so that is something that's well documented by the parents herself. And again, on I think she's come a few times home and went back extra. That's known. And on June 22, she again went to her parents' place, citing that no, she's not happy there. And then on 28th of June, in a place called Chetty Pudur, around 1:12 or 1 p.m., she was found unconscious. Pesticide tablets commonly used for coconut trees plantation was used. She was frothing, and somebody called her mother and conveyed that a girl found us lying unconscious in the car that she was driving. At the same time, just before, let's say half an hour before she decided to end her life, sadly, she sent many audio notes to her father, which some of which are definitely found on YouTube, and you can listen to them. What made me do this podcast was also the voice and the tone which she spoke. Literally moved me to tears when I listened to it for the first time. I listened to more of the audio notes that she had sent, and I mean, I don't know what to say. It was quite difficult to digest that someone was pushed to that kind of condition. Anyway, we don't know what really happened. So, but any person who listens to it will be literally moved to tears. That much I can guarantee. If you don't have a strong heart, I would say, stay away from it. She's pretty much lost all hope of continuing her life based on the text that audio notes that she had sent to parents. Anyway, post that incident on June 28, I think police swung into action, arrested Kavin Kumar and his father Ishwaramurthy for various offences, mainly, let me see what those offences are: Dowry Prohibition Act, abetment to suicide, and domestic cruelty, Section 498A. These are very common laws that the government has, which are specifically enacted to prevent women who undergo domestic torture, which includes mental and physical, and of course torture due to, let's say, dowry demanding, etc. So of course it gets misused in some cases, in many cases, but then the specific laws were enacted for genuine cases like this, in which women don't have much of a, let's say, normal way out, and say they have to resort to these laws to get justice and live a reasonable life. And of course after divorce, then you have alimony, other things to continue a reasonable life. So anyway, after these two people were arrested, there was a more furor, and Kavin's mother, that is the groom's mother, Chitra Devi, she was also arrested subsequently, and I think the court also denied bail for all three of them, so they are probably under judicial custody till the next hearing. That's pretty much on the case. Now, there's a lot of theories floating around in terms of why she died, what had really happened. There are accusations against the family and particularly against this boy, Kevin Kumar. But let's go through some of it, and also, but will not delve too much into some of the conjectures and say rumors that are floating around. We don't know for a fact till they're proven in the court, but let's just still talk through them. Apparently, people believe that this girl told her mother that the boy used to watch pornography quite often and resorted to BDSM, or the experimental way of sex that it's common on pornography. He used to follow her into the bathroom, and she used to feel shy and kind of request him, don't come behind me and see me taking bath, etc. So there have been some allegations, again it's accusations or allegations of sexual tortures and similar part, along with the mental torture from the in-laws, and also the from the in-laws mainly, but we don't know that for a fact. These are statements, accusations from the girl's parents, right? We don't know. And what we probably know for a fact is that the father was probably not aware of all of these things, because I think he would have gone home and maybe even killed them, or protested, confronted them, right? And I think maybe the mother knew a little bit. I think the daughter didn't reveal everything, and women generally do that, right? So after marriage, even if they struggle, they generally don't tend to reveal everything to their parents or mother or even their friends, because they don't want to get judged in the first place. They try to keep it within themselves. Maybe one or two close friends of the girl at best case might come to know of the struggles or the pain that the girl is going through. So apparently, even in Rithanya's case, unfortunately, she didn't reveal much to friends or brother, and she's kind of given some hints, a few hints to her mother, and the father was kind of oblivious to all the pain and struggle that she was put through or kind of underwent, right? Okay, and the father, in fact, made a statement, I think, online to one of the press or interviews, that he said, "I'm happy that she is dead. My daughter was raised with good morals, and that she stuck to the philosophy of one man, one life." And apparently, she had mentioned that in one of the audio note that I don't want to end this marriage and go and let's say remarry, because I believe in one life, one man kind of stuff. So, of course, the father was kind of pilloried for having made such a, let's say, backward or old belief kind of a statement. But again, this was the norm in our country and the whole of the world for a very long time. So I find nothing surprising in with which she was brought up, and think it reflects a good moral and upbringing on part of the family, if at all anything, right? Anyway, cool. So just to give a little bit history about Kavin Kumar and father Ishwaramurthy and mother Chitra Devi, and Kavin Kumar's grandfather, that is Ishwaramurthy's father, is Congress Party President R. Krishnan's uh, grandson. Tiruppur, well-off family with business interest, and apparently the kid had no particular reason to even go to work, so they were earning, I think, many lakhs due to renting out of buildings and other business aspects. So I think the son, even though he had done MBA, the groom never, probably never went to job. He told them he's into some kind of digital marketing. I don't know what that is, but yeah, I think the girl's family also didn't probably do enough research in terms of his ability to earn or stand on his own legs, right? We'll come to that as well. Now, one of the things that she admitted in her audio note is that definitely the parents didn't know the entire story. That's number one. So the kind of struggle and pain this girl was put through was not quite evident or not reflected in her conversations to her parents and brothers. So nobody really knew the kind of torture she underwent. So obviously, whenever she spoke to parents or went to her parents' place, she was advised to, given a practical advice that there will be differences in the marriage. It takes a couple of years or a year at least to understand each other, and when go back and adjust, we'll take care of you, right? The other thing she herself has said in the audio notes is that that I'm not a very strong girl. I've lost my confidence, and I'm only acting strong she admits that I'm a very cowardly woman, girl, and she's founding life very, very hard. The mental torture in particular, she raises it a few times, and also talks about physical. I don't know. I shouldn't exactly use the word torture, but the physical um, kind of trauma in some form, inflicted by the boy, is also something that she has resented a lot. She mentions that a couple of times in the audio note. She also says that she has become very weak mentally, and she doesn't. She feels betrayed by the groom's family, and that she doesn't want to face life anymore, even if this relationship ends. And she's almost like, I can't really bear this torture. And like I told you, well, while starting the this podcast, if you hear her speak those things, it will break your heart. At least it did to me, and I felt very bad that someone was pushed into taking her own life anyway. Now, one of the reasons I want to do into podcast is, fine, this incident happened, and police will investigate, courts will do their part, hopefully, right? But I just thought I should give my view on some of the things that happened here, and some things which might help maybe parents like me, or other parents who have a daughter or a son, into when they, if at all, they try to look up for a partner or a mate for their children, right? One thing the children also should understand: if you're a girl or a guy, who's particularly a girl who's looking to marry, don't think that parents, you will become a burden on the parents if you come back. It's never the case. We obviously, the parents are going to feel a bit of discomfort and annoyance that you came back and that your life isn't settled. But no parent will ever look at you as a burden. It's fine whether the parents have the money or the capability. They're going to try the best to take care of you till they can. So you should never think of you as a burden to the parents, because this girl apparently thought that going back would mean a lot of shame, guilt, and also a burden to her father, which she actually mentions a few times, right? What I should also mention is, she's made this guy Kavin Kumar, asked him to write for IAS exam. I don't know whether he'll clear it. Obviously, he's not even studied well for the exam. It's a very hard exam to crack in India. And secondly, she's also spoken to her father a couple of times that, why don't you set up a business for my husband? I want him to. I think her intent was that she figured he's been living on parents' generational wealth, and any girl, I've always seen this pattern, I've told this before. Most girls want their husbands to stand on their own legs, earn on their own, even if that means it's less. It doesn't matter. A girl would never want to be with a man who's non-ambitious, and someone who's extremely lazy like this boy. So that is exactly why the girl has asked him, you have wealth, that's not a concern, but why don't you do something on your own, right? And this is kind of very normal women behavior, and it's a right thing. So cool. So I just thought I'll place this facts that she's had the best interest in some cases. Now, point number two, I spoke about the burden on parents. So I want young children, particularly women, to know that you can always go back to parents, and it's not going to be end of life for you, right? So point number two, if your safety, I mean, right from the time you're born and you're raised until you go to college, everywhere, the first few things parents always tell the children is, be safe, right? And you're given a safe haven at the home, so that your mental and physical what do you call you aspects are never under threat, and you're taken care of sufficiently, which means parents give a lot of love and discipline, and also a good protection to you, particularly if you're a girl child, to make sure you grow up in a good environment, so that you can learn what love is or affection is, and then care is, and then you tend to do that to your own husband and your children. That is how life evolves. Now, if this is under threat for any particular reason, be it a man or a woman, it means your basic existence is under threat, right? You shouldn't necessarily bear it beyond a point, because if you're a soft person or a weak person, in some cases, not everybody is strong, right? If you're a soft person, and if you can't bear these physical and of course, physical should never happen, but happens, right? Of if you're under threat in any of these forms, call it out, take help. There's no harm in it, right? Don't bear it and then end up committing suicide. This is an avoidable situation, right? Number three, this might be a little controversial, but I'll say it out. In this belt that I've seen, Tiruppur, Erode, and the Avinasi, and these belts, where this is a belt where typically all these people are into businesses, right? I don't want to bring out the caste, but I have friends in that belt. Whenever you talk to them, the first few things that will come when people talk about, let's say, marriage or anything between two families, is that they'll immediately say, this family is worth so many crores, this family is worth so many crores. They'll put so much of jewels, they'll give this car, and this is their business, this is what they do. So it's there's a lot of insistence and importance, right? I'm just very careful. Insistence and importance given to that prestige angle, and that's equated with how much of wealth somebody has. It could be land, it could be the number of houses you have, the number of servants you have. Pretty much this comes out in every conversation you have with people of in this area, and particular belonging to some particular caste. They bring it up. So now, on one side, the groom's family is extremely rich, or let's say, I mean, they have generational wealth to survive for the next few generations. And in spite of that, I don't think they really need the money, right? The greed and the avarice, if even though it comes out on one aspect of it, I do think that both the families have had prestige on their mind more than the greed angle. Is it basically to tell them that my son is worth so much that this girl's family is willing to offer so much of wealth for my son? That is what it boils down to. I don't personally think it's strictly a money thing, because they already have fancy cars and a fancy house. If you look at internet, you'll see their houses. So yeah. But even otherwise, right? Let's even if you put that behind, a demanding family is always a red flag. If someone says, I specifically need this kind of a car, and need so much of jewels from for the girl, etc., I generally tend to think that it's a red flag. It's probably better to stay away. But in general, the parents, let's say, giving jewels for the girl, or what, or some items for the house, or dresses, etc., whatever they want to give, people generally do that. It's just a custom. It's been followed for I think maybe thousands of years, if not millions of years, right? Probably since agricultural revolution. And it's more than, today we call it as dowry, because dowry act, it's looked at with a negative connotation. But I think in those days there were some reasons why it was given. The land and immovable properties were generally passed on to the son, so that he could continue the family tradition, and let's say continue to do agriculture, or other forms which was in vogue, or which was in practice in those days. But whereas the woman, you cannot marry her off to to people in the same area, right? I mean, it also could end up in being, close DNA and genetics, and those problems for that. And she was generally married off to a nearby village, or a village a little bit far off, to have the best chance of having better and healthier offsprings, right? Which means you cannot possibly give properties like what today we do it differently. But they generally gave, okay, ornaments and other things. This was one of the reasons that I can think of. The other reason dowry was also given, or let's say, let's not call it dowry, but let's say some form of wealth or movable properties was given to the girl, was to make sure she had enough respect in the house in which she went, that supported, right? And the third thing is, in those days jobs were not very common. It was very common for the groom to be quite idle and not doing anything, right? Even when my grandmother married my grandfather, I was told that the grandfather didn't have a stable job, and then eventually got into a government job, but he was not having a very stable income around the time. So this was quite common. And this, the jewels and other things that the girl took, it was still in her name, very clearly documented, and they used it in terms of emergency. Otherwise, what's the point in having those let's say, the jewels and ornaments and other pieces, when it's not going to be of any use for the family? It was given only for that perspective. Eventually, I think somewhere it lost its meaning in translation, and people started demanding it and torturing the girl, which is why in India the Dowry Act became so strict that it became a um, unlawful uh, what do you call, practice. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, so in general, it's a red flag if people demand so much, because the guy who's also trying to give, you're not supposed to give by law. I think the police obviously never will go and ask the parents, why did you give, or etc., because they can potentially be prosecuted. But if you give voluntarily, there is absolutely no problem, and it's practiced widely. So I don't see a concern. Yeah. So that's on the greed, avarice, and prestige part. I also think that the parents, feel proud for having done so much, because I mean, imagine, right? Why did you find a guy who's unemployed? I don't know. Maybe they thought it's a good family and these things happen. Point number four, there were accusations that, okay, the girl raised several red flags, but the parents asked her to adjust and go back to the in law's place. And, um, well, couple of things, right? Number one is it takes a lot of years for let's say some kind of understanding, forget love, some kind of understanding to even form between a man and a woman. It takes years. It's not like 5 months, 6 months. Sometimes it takes 5 6 years. At least that's been my experience. I don't know about you, and traditionally it's been like that. This love marriage is a relatively new phenomenon. In for like hundreds of thousands of years, people were married off because the parents decided that, oh, you get married, have children. It's there was some business deal going on. Okay, we'll merge our lands, we'll do business together, or we'll live. So, bunch of things happening. So I don't think people necessarily looked at love. Uh, it's just a new concept, and it's people are blaming on arranged marriages and saying that, because of prestige and what other people might think, the parents never reacted. I think you have to understand that the parents at that time, they think what they think is best for their kid. So it may not turn out to be right, but you can never doubt the intention, that their intent itself was wrong. Right? Am I being clear, or is it quite confusing? What I'm saying is the parents take certain decisions for themselves and for the kids, thinking that it is good for them based on the facts available to them at that particular time. Things might change, right? It could have been a mistake, but you cannot predict that things will go wrong, which seems to have happened in this case. And it's also understand that the girl hasn't really told everything to the parents. If the accusation that the boys, let's say promiscuity or sexual vagrances, for example, I don't think maybe the girl even told her mother or father or brother. How could she tell? Right? It would have been quite embarrassing for girls to say that. Maybe girls can say to her friends, if at all. I don't know about whether women do it. Maybe they do. But I think at least to her mother, I think in some indirect form, she probably has mentioned it a few times. That's what the mother says. So yeah, so arranged marriage as such is not necessarily wrong. It seems to have a longer successful marriage rates compared to love marriage. And yeah, so that's pretty much on love marriage. You need to give yourself time. So the parents were not necessarily wrong in asking her to adjust and go back, because they generally didn't know what exactly was happening, right? So mostly they said, go back, live with them, try to adjust and get used to their family life. Number five, about this particular boy, Kevin. Again, my argument here is just based on the news that I read. I'm not 100% sure. If you're a man and if you watch pornography, which let's say 95 to 98% of the men do, um, okay, maybe you should know this, right? You cannot expect your wife to act like a porn star, right? First thing to understand is your wife is never going to be having that kind of a great body like a porn star does. Because that industry is different. It's faked. A lot of things are strange. It's recorded in a camera, so it's basically money, right? It's business, so you can't really expect your wife to do that. Imagine if your mother or your sister, she's also married to someone, and she's also going to get married to someone. You wouldn't expect that, right? So don't expect that. Number one, it's not very practical of you. Even if you're horny and you expect to have all this fun, that's fair enough. I'm not dissuading you that a man should not have that. I want to try different poses, for example. Yeah, no worries. But that girl also should be ready for it, right? You need to be able to wait, because women need time, because they are looking for safety and comfort with you, and that might take a few years. They're looking for good emotional support from you, and they're all, and that's when the safety angle, everything comes in. She has to look up to you to satisfy her hypergamy, and over time she develops enough love and respect for you that she will initiate things that you want, and she will be acquiescing to some of the demands that you have. And it's not that women don't want to do these things as well. Even they are horny, they also want to do things. You will have to bring out her naughty or experimental side over time. Just after marriage, 1 month, 2 month, if you don't know each other, and in most arranged marriages that's the case, right? You don't know each other. You have to give a time, make her feel comfortable, and then go for your experimental wild side. But expecting that right after marriage, pretty bad. I mean, this is for men, right? Don't do that. That's my piece of advice. Okay, number six. This is something that I've seen, particularly in business sites, where the boy is typically not studying pretty well. So they send him to some college to get BCom, BA, whatever it is, and then some random MBA from some unknown schools and colleges. And he's getting married to the woman, or even the girl side is mighty impressed. Oh, he's from a rich family, good family, non-working guy, but நிறைய சொத்து இருக்கு. I mean, in Tamil they say சொத்து so much is there, right? That's a lot of wealth accumulated, so that it shouldn't matter. No, you're wrong. Um, I mean, imagine how an idle mind is going to be, right? Is pretty much, it's a red flag. It's brain damaged in most cases. Don't fall for this rich boy non-working syndrome. It never works out, right? A man is supposed to work hard, or at least try as much as possible, even if you fail. But if you don't even try, you don't move your muscle, you're sitting at home all the time, not making social connections, not making your attempt at building a business for yourself or working somewhere. I'm sorry, that's not a good choice. And women and parents of such women who are looking to marry should ideally stay away unless you're very sure that he's going to get back to work or stand on his own feet in any form, right? You can pretty much be a carpenter or even a rickshaw puller or a taxi driver, but at least it shows that you're willing to work hard and that you have some discipline in life. But these guys who are sitting at home, what will they do whole day? Eat, sleep, nothing, no movement, and watching stupid things on their mobile phone. That's what happens, and the brain gets damaged very, very fast. Yeah, so that's point number six. Point number seven, that's the last we had. I did touch upon, but I'll say it again. You can't really blame parents for everything, as there are situations where the parents pressurize the children into a marriage. Again, they probably think that it is best for them at that particular time. Sometimes things go wrong, but yeah, that's pretty much it. They also try to see what's best for their children and how good their future would be. But in some cases, it's not to be the case. That's unfortunate truth. That's pretty much what I had to convey. I felt quite terrible hearing this news a week or two ago. My cousin forwarded it, and I watched quite a few videos after that on YouTube. Read quite a bit of stuff as well, so I felt quite sad. Uh, Really quite sad. If you hear your voice, that that wail, that agony, that pain in her voice, I think that'll probably haunt me for a long, long time. I feel bad, but that's pretty much what I can do. And I thought some of the tips or my observations might be useful for people who are seeking a partner in life. If you find this useful, forward to your friends or people who are looking to marry, or if you're a parent, it might be useful for you. At the same time, my condolences to Rithanya's family. May you gain peace over time and you get justice as well. Thank you.